you drive up there, you'll realize that you can drive through long expanses of nothing but woods. It's not like being around here. You go from one town to the next, you can't tell it. When my dad was a little boy, this was back in 1947, 48, it was a lot more woods and a lot fewer people. And they lived way back in the woods along the Gulf Coast in the piney woods, and they lived off of what they killed. They hunted. They lived off of the fish they would catch out of the Gulf and the fish they would catch out of the streams and what little garden vegetables they would grow. One thing that they would do to cultivate, there were a lot of hogs that lived in the woods. So they would cultivate these hogs. They would catch them, and they would catch the young ones like this high, called shoats. And they would castrate them, treat the wounds, and turn them back loose in the woods to grow. And by castrating them, they would grow bigger, have more meat on the bones, and it wouldn't be so strong when you would eat it. And one day my dad and my grandfather were out hunting with dogs, looking for some of these shoats. So they're walking along through the woods, and they hear the dogs start to bark, and you can tell by the way they bark they've found something. So my dad runs ahead, and he gets up, catches up with the dogs. And the dogs have surrounded this big palmetto patch. Now, a palmetto, if you don't know what it is, it looks like a cabbage palm, same kind of leaves and stuff, except it's a bush, it's not a tree. So they grow in big clumps, and they'll spread out, and they'll spread really fast. So this huge palmetto patch, the dogs are all surrounding this palmetto patch, and they're barking. So there's something in this palmetto patch, and this is the way they would do it. And you typically with hogs, they would hide in these things. And you can tell by the way the dogs are acting what size of hog. So if it's a smaller hog, they're going to be a little closer, but if it's a big hog, they're way back. So these dogs are way back. So my dad knows it's a bigger hog than just a small shoat. And remember, my dad is only 11 or 12 years old. He's a young boy. Yeah. But he's done this before. So my dad gets up to the palmetto patch, and he bends down and he looks underneath the palmettos to see what's in there, and his eyes meet with this hog. But this is no typical hog. This hog is a legendary hog in the county. This is the killer boar. His back is 5 feet high. His tusks are 2 feet long and razor sharp. Come out of his mouth like this. He has killed dozens of dogs, people, all over the county. And it's rumored that he could cut a dog in half with one swipe of his tusk. So my dad's eyes, he locks eyes with this poor hog. Immediately the hog starts charging directly at my dad. He's certainly going to die, right? As if by providence, divine providence, my dad reaches down and grabs a lighter knot. Now, if y'all don't know what lighter is, I'll tell you. The lighter is the heart of the pine tree. It's where all the sap concentrates. So it gets really hard. And a knot is placed on where a limb grows on a tree, and when the limb falls off and the tree grows around it, it makes a real hard surface. So a lighter knot is a really hard piece of wood. Happens to be one right there. My dad's hand lands right on it. He picks it up and he throws it at this hog. This is the only weapon he has, right? They're out there trying to catch these hogs, not kill them. So he doesn't have a gun. Hits the hog right between the eyes. Bang! And the hog falls to his feet, slides through the palmettos, crashing through them right up to my dad's feet. Now this is the legendary killer hog. My dad runs around to the back of the hog and grabs his huge hind legs and starts trying to tie him up. And by this time my grandfather comes up. He says, "Son, the hog's dead, you can forget it." My dad had just killed the legendary killer hog with a lighter knife. 11 to 12-year-old boy. So later on, my dad comes by months later and sees the skeleton, and there's a dent in the skull where the lighter knot had hit him. Well, my dad's famous throughout the county. He killed the killer hog and decimated people with hunting dogs. And so they have created a festival every year in honor of my dad for killing this hog. And if you drive through Perry, turn off of the dirt road in Athena. There is an Athena, Florida. 1 mile down the road, there is a statue of my dad as a young boy standing over this killer hog.